Live on WFLA Now. Feel good and live your best life with Bloom Health Club. Here's Gail Guayardo.
All right, Tampa's restaurant scene is exploding, and it has a lot to do with the top chefs that now call Tampa Bay home. And that includes our next Bloom Health Club guest, who is an Iron Chef, culinary maestro, celebrated restaurateur, accomplished author, and captivating television personality with a career spanning decades, Geoffrey Zakarian. And with him is the driving force behind her husband's success, producer, top marketing exec, and president of Zakarian Hospitality, Margaret Zakarian. Guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us to come.
Yes,
My wife's here all the time.
I know.
I'm like figuring out the hallways here, wandering.
Yeah, I was going to say, Margaret's been so nice. She's come on with the kids. She's cooked with us in the past. It's such a pleasure to meet you. And I want to hear more about the dynamic story that brought your two careers together and then even took it to the next level. So, Geoffrey, tell me a little bit about how you got started in the industry.
Well, our careers didn't sort of take us together. I took over. And she was sucked into my career. Just be honest. That's what happens because it's full time. And when you're in the restaurant business, it's, you know, we joke because we'll go to bed and like, oh, is the phone going to ring? And it does all the time. And it just never shuts down because there's pre-service, there's during service, after service, then there's marketing. So you're never not in the hospitality business, but that's what it means. You're taking care of people. So I started this a long time ago, not by chance. Not by design, by the way. I just was going to school and I was in a economics major with a minor in nutrition. And I was going to a university in UMass and Worcester State College. And I went to France for a semester after I graduated. And it changed my outlook of all things that I wanted to do. And I just fell in love with everything that had to do with food, culture, the way they treat their culture of food is very, very different than the United States because it's 3,000 years old. And I just loved it, 2-hour lunches. Every day they'd cook for themselves, but they'd go to the bakery. And if you didn't get there in time, the bread was gone. It's very different. Mm-hmm. And that just struck something in me. I grew up in a very a Middle Eastern household where it was pretty much the same thing. Everything was made from scratch. And it just resonated with me. And I came back and decided to go to CIA, which is the cooking version of the Culinary Institute of America. It's called the CIA. So some people, I just sometimes have fun with people and tell, I was in the CIA for 2.5 years.
I like that. I know you got me there for a minute. I'm like, wow, the CIA, that's really impressive. What can't this guy do?
So, one thing led to another, and I ended up moving to New York City in 1993. I met my wife in 2001. And we have been trying to perfect the magic that is the restaurant business and hospitality ever since.
And it seems like you guys have done a remarkable job doing this, and because you're everywhere. And I know I see you on camera with your husband a lot. I know you bring the family into cooking together. I mean, I don't know, the balancing act is unbelievable because you're a celebrity chef. You guys have consulted restaurants, run restaurants. I mean, you've really done it all, and now you're working your beautiful children into this. So tell me about that.
So, they kind of how Geoffrey was describing, in his house, that's sort of what they're experiencing. In our house, right? They grew up with food. They grew up around food. They grew up going out to restaurants, critiquing. We sit down, we critique, we're sharing ideas. This is, and now they're like little chef
snobs.
Taster. No, they're like chef taster.
No, at 4 they were snobs. Like, this isn't spinach. No, I mean it because they didn't know that they had everything fresh made, and they didn't know what I did for a living. So we just made everything. No, not in a bad way.
Right.
I mean, but they've tasted everything from scratch, right? And so
yeah, I mean,
they're
even
lucky.
this weekend, Anna, my daughter, pulled something out of the fridge and said, "Mom, this does not taste good. We got rid of it. It was bought." And I said, "Well, I totally trust you. Just put it in the garbage," because they know now. They've been trained by their dad and in the food part of it. So, and they love to cook. They naturally gravitate to the kitchen. And so they embrace it, I would say. So we support it. And
you even wrote a book about it, really, which I think is so cool because I think we're in an era. I mean, your kids are so lucky; they have a head start. I like to think in my industry of what I'm no cook like you guys are, but I have learned a lot about food and the importance of feeding families the right way. And you've taken all of the things, all the razzle dazzle, all the things that we've seen in fine restaurants and on TV, and you've kind of break it down for the everyday family that cooks together, which is the title of the book.
Which I think is what just our whole ethos is like, how can you make your experience at home just better? It's not hard, but teaching people few tips and tricks can really change your experience in the kitchen, right? I mean,
yeah, and I sort of stay away from the 5-minute meals, 10-minute meals. There's no such thing. I mean, if you want a 10-minute meal, make a reservation, because you need to spend time in preparing even the simplest of things, and it's okay. And that's actually the best time you can spend with your family and your kids, because they pay attention, even though they're like maybe on Xbox or they're playing, whatever they're playing, a game, or they're like watching something. They will pay attention. They'll smell something. Oh, that smells good, Dad. What are you doing? And they'll come in, or Margaret will be cooking, and they'll want to do something, and that stays with them. And so that's what we just try to do. And, on the kitchen, we try to give them something that we put together live. So we have 10-minute segments. And so obviously the prep's all done. So that's the hard part. But then we try to cook for real in real time to show people like it does take time, but it's the best time you could spend with your family. The absolute best.
Meanwhile, I'm always looking for the 10-minute meal because I'm like the mom. I don't know what you were talking about.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. No,
cook it in 10 minutes,
there's nothing wrong with that. So maybe 1 or 2 days a week. Well, let's just order out. Let's get sushi. Like, you just do that. I totally get it. But it's so much more fun to like cook together and just learn together and make mistakes together, because it's about making mistakes. Cooking is about screwing up, overcooking, undercooking, not enough seasoning. But the good thing about it, when you screw up and make a mistake, you get to eat it, right? You can't do that in many professions.
Okay, there is one thing that I keep messing up.
What is that?
And I don't know, maybe
only one?
This tip too. There's many. And this is one mistake that you cannot eat.
What?
But I am trying to perfect granola, cooking granola.
Oh. Yeah.
And when you burn it, you can't eat it. So that's one mistake.
I didn't even know you cooked granola. That is the one thing
yes,
I grab out of a box.
It gives like
Toasted.
mom would. If you're making your own granola, don't you feel like it would feel like really good?
Yeah.
So okay, how? What is our?
Well, it is. I mean, it depends on the sugar you're putting in and what you're putting in the ingredients. And you have to keep the oven really low and a longer time with lower oven, because if you toast it too hard, there's honey and apricots and sometimes date syrup and all that stuff.
It gets too hard.
It gets too hard, but it also gets dark real fast. So low and slow, and you really have to like in between go in there and like move it around, but a lower oven. And then it gets really dry and delicious. And then you have that crunch that you love. So when you pour the milk in, it stays crunchy. It has to be cooked. That's the whole granola is cooked. Yeah.
I'm still like blown away that you can actually cook granola. I didn't even know that was
It's very easy. By the way, it's a recipe.
Next Bloom episode.
No, I have been trying the recipe.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is what we're doing. This is the thing.
Burnt food I'm not talking about. Yeah, you don't want to eat burnt food.
So you cook from what's natural. You feed your family
Yes.
and others the right kinds of food, which is something that we preach all the time on the nationally syndicated show Bloom, and here in the the Bloom Health Club. I want to talk about your new line that you've launched of cookware, because I think that's another thing that we're starting to realize is that how we're preparing our foods is not good for our families. And, the coating and all of the things that, Americans and people around the world, they don't know is making them sick. So you want the right ingredients, the right kind of meals. You want that family time, but you also want to serve it safely.
Correct. You want to start about the business?
So the new cookware is our stainless steel. We still sell very much a lot of the cast iron. So the cast iron nonstick was so successful that we converted it to a stainless product. So it's quite as heavy, and it has all the same great qualities as the cast iron. But yes, with the very safe nonstick coating that we have, you can oils, butter, so it makes it a bit healthier for you. And you're right, it is important to not have. You don't want your cookware to be cheap or inexpensive. That means it doesn't have. Right, so if you pick up a $10 pan, you're kind of you get what you pay for, right? So you want to make sure that the nonstick pans that you have are really from a reputable manufacturer, and that you feel out where they're coming from. course, I can stand by our products,
Right.
but it's just something good to think about. And it has a lot to do with the layers of coating, number of layers of coating. So if you have a very inexpensive nonstick, you can scratch very easily. One coating, that's when that's have scratched cookware.
Toss it.
Yeah, and just
Toss it right away. Now let's talk about the dynamic between the two of you. You're like a power couple in the culinary world, and I think so. I mean, you see you guys, to read about you, all the things that you're doing, and I've seen you like behind the scenes with your lovely children, your 2 daughters, your son. Life is a balancing act, yet you guys seem to feed off of each other, pun intended, in such a beautiful way.
Thank you. Honestly, Gail, it's one day at a time. You just the best you can each day. And
I described raising children as a modern couple as sort of like we're
modern.
We're modern, I think, as we're running a minimum security facility. You know what I mean?
You said a correction, minimal.
It's a correctional facility. It's a minimum security. And we're just figuring it out day by day. We definitely work this out day by day. Obviously, we have schedules and appointments and Zooms and all that. But the day is like one giant. We try to start successful with, it's not traumatic. Mm-hmm. And we get through one day at a time. Honest to God, that's what it is. I don't believe there's any balance at all in my mind that we say, okay, balance. Let's have a pie chart. That really doesn't happen. We do take care to make sure that we each listen to each other and get what we need from each other and give what we need to each other. But balance is a really overused word. It's just, we just work very hard, and we take small stuff serious, and we take big stuff serious.
And we wake up really early.
And we wake up really early.
How early do you guys wake up? Just out of curiosity.
She's up 4:35.
No,
5. That's
5,
still pretty
5:30,
early.
And it's a big day. It's a long day, but I think that we're blessed. We have our health, and and we try to start the day with breakfast with the kids. Every day it's a real breakfast, not Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Not cereal. And so they love it, and they sort of it's like a European grazing, and we make way more stuff than they have. We save it, and
I was reading a little bit about what you like to make for
Yeah.
breakfast. Tell
Yeah.
me about that. What
Well,
would you put on your breakfast plate?
Well, it's hard because everybody is vastly different. If I put
this is the problem that we've created.
Yeah, we've created this
everyone wants
problem.
Something different.
So, I didn't have that when I grew up. I'm sure, Margaret, you didn't. But they're like, Dad, can I have,
They're big
pot
right
stickers?
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pot
Dad, can
stickers
I
is
want
the
to, can you make me a
trend.
sandwich of prosciutto and buffalo mozzarella? I'm like, okay.
But lately we've been doing these tartines from their book. They're
Yeah.
back on that.
Like
the
hard-boiled egg tartines with watercress.
olive tapenade with hard-boiled egg and arugula.
And so it's really a lot of protein, a lot of fruit. And my son George, he'll eat whatever I put in front of him. He doesn't care. He's like the most. He'll eat whatever. Obviously I cook it for him, but the girls are very particular. And now my oldest makes her lunch every day, and she puts it in little containers and zips it up and takes it because she said the food is so not very good. But so it's kind of a lot of heavy lift in the morning, but it's great. It's a great time to spend time with them.
I love it.
And you
I love
just
it.
chat, and you having fruit or whatever we're making, and it smells great, and
I'm with you.
it's fun.
I'm not.
It's not.
It's
It's
fun.
work, but what isn't work?
You're right, and we cook. Not like you guys. Again, I have to keep putting that disclaimer out there, but we do cook together as a family, and we spend time together as a family. And as my daughters get older, 26, 24, 18, 16, you realize you don't get this time back.
No,
So to
you
make it
don't.
special is so important. I want to introduce you to my good friend and coworker, Brody Waddell, who is the lead producer of Bloom Tampa Bay.
Hi, Brody.
And he's a digital reporter. He's out there on the restaurant scene. I know you have a couple questions for the Zakarians as well.
I guess I do. Really, when it comes to cooking as a fam. So, just a brief introduction on you. My move when I date is to cook for her, and it works every time.
Is about
It's-
Brody's and his dates.
It's a
That's
big
the
deal.
underlying-
So I
Is
learned.
this the first date?
I
Brody?
learned. Usually the second or third.
Okay, good
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, there you go. I learned how to cook kind of well from my dad. My dad was the guy who really did a lot of the fancy cooking, and there's so many good memories based around
Of course.
cooking and stuff of that nature. And it kind of blows my mind how many people do not cook. They don't eat any sort of thing.
No,
They
I know.
don't put any in it. They have no idea. Like, how do you, what would you say to these? Like, how do people like? It just bring it. Obviously, it means so much to you guys. It means a lot to me. Like, why do you think that there's such like a wall?
Well, the
even
culture has
simplest?
created a culture of like instant. You want everything instantly.
Mhm.
Instant home, instant relationship, instant food, instant. If you're angry if you have to wait 2 seconds to get something. That's not. And that's just. I mean, it's wonderful and it's awful.
Mhm.
And food does not work like that. It really doesn't. And it's the initial part of food that's really when you sit down around the table, everything in life happens there. Everything, like you just described.
Mhm.
You might meet your wife there one day. But that's like you want that. You don't want to cut that short. And I think people are very busy, obviously, but I think it's some of the best time spent is in the kitchen cooking. Even if you're just cooking for yourself or one other person, I mean, that's when everything just lets go. You start talking about things, and sooner or later, you're into a real interesting discussion, or you're learning about food, and the smells come out. I mean, just think of it. Every memory I have, every good memory, is a smell. Just think of that,
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's ocean, the smell of the ocean, or the smell of bacon, or the smell of some, a house that gives you a smell that you recognize from a home. It smells like my mom's home, or this smells like, oh my God, I got my grandma. It's sausage is reminding me.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's a smell, and that's
It's
who
true.
we are.
Yeah,
So,
like my Sicilian grandmother did all the cooking in our house, and she taught me, and now it's a generational thing that she's always cooking from the ground of what she picked out of a garden. Was very careful about what she selected to feed us, and it takes you back to those memories, and it's kind of a familial thread. Do you think maybe for people that didn't have that experience, that shows like you were on, like Chopped, Iron Chef, do you think there's this like buildup of becoming cooking enthusiasts because of celebrity chefs like yourself?
well, just look at what's happened in 30 years. I mean, now there is more cooking shows on than ever, and the streaming literature of cooking it's infinite. You can learn how to cook anything online in minutes, which is great. So I never had that opportunity. Now I know, But I was going to say, there's nothing more powerful than cooking for someone or entertaining. We've been blessed. We've known, rock stars and movie stars that come to the restaurant, all these people, nothing more powerful than when they sit and eat and they ask, oh my God, this is so good. What is it? Everybody loves that. I don't care who you are. It's the end game of life, is that hospitality moment. And whether you're a politician or you're a billionaire, it's all about food. I mean, it's 3 times a day. So it's really always there. It's just if you want to choose to go and do it or not go and do it. And we love being in there doing it because we found so many friends and such great experiences just, going around the world and eating at restaurants. It's the first thing we plan when we go out. Margaret will get on the computer, like, where are we going? And she'll look at restaurants first and hotels.
Yeah.
Then we'll determine.
We plan around that.
Like we're doing that now. We're going on a college tour and we're like looking at, there are any Michelin star restaurants on the way?
Nice.
And so we're basically not staying at some place because it's a restaurant that's better at that hotel that we're staying at. And for us, it's fantastic.
You guys, in closing, I want to get just a pulse, especially from somebody and a couple that comes from New York, where you used to have to fly to New York if you wanted a decent meal and to have a real culinary experience. But what are your thoughts? I know you moved here in 2020 during the pandemic, and you're rooted. You know so many folks here. What do you think of Tampa's evolution of restaurants?
I mean, since when I was living here in the 80s, when I was younger, I mean, it was Donatello's or Shells.
Right,
were like
right.
the 2 choices. Like
Shells.
1985, like, we're going
And
to
they're
Shells
still
or
there.
Donatello's. They're still there. It's still great.
Didn't we go to Shells the other day?
No, you.
What was that one?
I need to take you to
You have
Shells.
to take me Shells. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the explosion of restaurants in Tampa, even just incredible to watch this. Love to go to Roca. Love going to the bar at Burns. It's so good.
Yes.
It's a great old standby.
Yeah.
The wine list there obviously is incredible.
This is, I told your father that in 5 years it's going to be like the culinary capital, like Nashville or Austin. And he said, no way. I'm like, you wait. And it's happening fast. I mean, I love it here in Tampa. It's everything that you could want with the weather and the accessibility and all that stuff. It's just a great place to live and grow up kids. But it's a great time to be here as a restaurant person because it's just the beginning.
That's cool. That's good to
It's
hear.
just the beginning. It's just the beginning.
More begets more, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's great. And like the fact that Ian Schrager, who I worked for 10 years, opened the Edition in Tampa, says a real whole lot because that's like Marriott and that's serious research. And that's a very funky, hip brand. And for him to open in Tampa is really quite something.
Yeah, that is amazing. How can our listeners and viewers today follow you and support what you guys are doing? Like, what's next in the
Oh, that's so
Zakarian?
If they want to support us, just go to qvc.com.
Okay.
And you can just type my name in. That's
Geoffrey
the support
Zakarian, that's with a
factor.
G.
Yeah.
And what's
No,
your
yeah, I
what's
mean,
your
we have-
handle?
we have a lot of-
MZ.
Yeah. Instagram is a great way.
Instagram's
a
great
M.
way.
Zakarian, at M. Zakarian. He's at Geoffrey Zakarian. But we've got a lot of great food products on Amazon, on QVC, the
Yeah.
cookware, obviously. Lots of ways to follow along the fun.
And again, they have a
We
beautiful
post
family.
we post quite
frequently.
yeah, we post every day, at least once a day.
Well-
Sometimes twice.
I love following you. I love to see what you guys are up to as a couple and your incredible children. And I know you're very, very busy, so we appreciate
Yeah.
you taking
Thank
time.
you very much for having
us.
us.
Yeah.
Nice to be here.
Great to have you.